Hello friends! Today I have a book about you can be an entomologist. What is an entomologist? Well, it's somebody who investigates insects. So what do you think this book is about? Let's see. It's about a job. An entomologist is a job. By Dino Martins. What is entomology? An entomologist is a scientist who studies insects. Look around. Insects are everywhere. You've probably seen insects before, but have you really looked at them? Observing an insect. Soon you'll be asking questions. When you see a bee moving slowly on a flower, you might wonder, what is it doing? An entomologist is curious and creative. It's an exciting job, but it's not always easy. It takes patience to watch quietly and wait for insects. Are you creative and patient and curious and careful? Let's jump into the lives of insects. A magnifying glass helps to observe those tiny insects. And even logs are a perfect place to wait for insects to arrive. Let's see. Why do scientists study insects? Well, they want to learn more about how insects can help our planet and what we can do to help protect them. Studying insects, there's so much to discover. Little creatures that make the whole world go round. Pollinators are insects that move pollen from one flower to another. They are very important. They help new plants to grow. Many of the foods we eat come from these plants. So an entomologist studies these insects because they want to help farmers grow better crops. How do insects help us study people? Well, they set up investigations. Maybe they do some experiments. They have to find out which insects are helpful to crops and which are not. Here's what the team did. First, they observed. They watched and waited to see which insects would come. Then they counted them. And then they looked at all the different bugs that came. Maybe where they came from, what kind of bug they were. So they need lots of equipment. Cameras. Insects live everywhere. They are found in the coldest places on the earth and the tallest mountain. So an entomologist might travel to every corner of the world. This entomologist traveled to the parts of Africa. It's a great place to find pollinators. There are areas with lots of flowers. So, what do insects eat? Well, butterflies, they drink nectar. Insects spend a lot of time looking for food. They visit flowers to get food. Insects pick up pollen and then they move and spread the pollen around. This helps new plants to grow. To find an insect, just look for evidence of eating. What kind of food an insect eats is helpful when you want to study that type of insect. Find a leaf full of holes and there might be something nearby. Part of being an entomologist is spending a lot of time observing, just watching. Like finding a juicy leaf full of holes. We wait for the right insect to come, and then maybe you can capture it. Capturing it with, you can put it in a jar, and then you can watch it. How do they study insects? Well, he captured them at first, right? But we have to be careful. We don't want to hurt them. When the insect has become very still, they use special tweezers to take it out of the box. They are very careful not to hurt it. When we study pollinators, we want to know more about how their bodies can find pollen. A butterfly has a very long tongue. We can measure his tongue, and that gives it clues which kind of flowers they can go to. A long tongue means they can reach inside of a long flower. Some bees have pollen baskets right on their legs. Do you see it? That's where they store the pollen. When they fly around and collect when they're visiting flowers, they can take the pollen out of his little basket and they can check it and see what kind of flowers they went to. Most bugs have a certain type. They have a piercing and sucking mouth part. That means that they have a little jagged part on the end that can cut it. Then they put this little sucking, like a little straw in there. Interesting, huh? Butterflies and moths have really long tongues to reach the pollen. Whoa, look at that one. It's a hawk moth. Entomologists also study the behavior of insects. We carefully observe them. All the actual things. Sometimes it's hard. Oh, look. They made an observation chart. So they checked on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday at different times of the day. And look, at 8 o'clock there was 0. 12 o'clock there was 1. But look at night. 8 o'clock at night. Look at all those insects. You can record your own. You can make a chart. If you don't see any, write it down too. Can people hurt insects? Of course they can. So insects need to have ways to defend themselves. Other animals might want to eat them too. And humans can look like big, hungry animals. So we have to be careful. And we have to protect ourselves. So when we wear dull colors like gray and beige, the insects might not be able to see us if we match the colors of the dirt and the trees. Also, insects get scared really easily. So remember, you have to walk slowly and give them space. How are insects helpful? They do a lot of important jobs just by going about their daily lives. Insects pollinate flowers. Some flowers then grow into fruit and vegetables that we eat. Insects, they help to grow food. They eat our pests. Ladybugs eat those little pests that come on our plants. Insects clean up the forest floor. You see that? All those ants. They even eat dead and rotten wood, dead leaves. And then they mix it all up, and that is good for our soil too. So how do insects get their names? Well, the last step in studying insects is to pick a name. Many insects have a common name, but they all have a scientific name too. Some were named after the places they were discovered. Others are named for the person who discovered them. Do you want to be an entomologist? Maybe you can discover a new bug and name it after you. The first thing I noticed about the orange bee was it had no stripes. Look at that. And it lives alone, not in a hive. He was investigating an orange bee. Are there more insects to discover? Yes. There are already millions and millions. Some think there are 30 million. And still, others think that there's 100 million different kinds of insects. I don't know. What do you think? Some insects can look similar, but some are very different. That tells me that there are many more insects still to be discovered. Imagine you're in a forest and you look around. You might see 2 or 3 insects flying or crawling. But there are many more that you don't see. And maybe some that no one has ever seen. Maybe you'll be the lucky one who finds them. Can I find a new insect? Sure. Kids can be great entomologists. Look at that. They built a little house to see who was going to come and visit. You can study insects. Draw a picture of the insects that you see and go outside and look every day in the same spot and see how many you can find. You can count them and record them, write the number of them. Maybe you'll find a brand new kind. So how do you become an entomologist? There are many ways you can study. You can start by looking for insects around your house. As an adult, you can grow flowers and plan your garden. Now you have to watch the insects. Visit the museums too and learn about insects in your community. It can be fun. Insects truly make the world go around. Our planet needs insects. The end. So how many different kinds of bugs do you think there are? How many are in your yard? How many are in the whole world? What can you discover? Are you going to be an entomologist?